we want to think of ways of pricing our products so that we maximize profits, given a mixed bundle. So up to this point, we've primarily stuck with companies that had one product, right? So when we're doing our typical graph, whether we're in perfect competition or monopoly, we've got a single product down here, and we're charging price, we're looking at costs, and we're trying to do what's best for the company in terms of maximizing profits. So now we've got a couple different elements, and this brings in a good dose of reality to our economic models, because we see multiple products in a variety of situations all over the place. And so using some of our economic insights, we can help structure a pricing system that maximizes profits as well. So Fit Club offers two types of equipment. We got the three types of customers with those willingness to pay. All right, so the weight room and swimming pool each have a constant marginal cost of $20 per month. In the case of the pool, the marginal cost is the price of water and chemicals used, while the marginal cost of weight machines is cleaning the equipment and maintaining them. Each customer is considering monthly access to the type of equipment, and the firm has to decide what type of membership package to offer to the customers. So what price will the firm charge for each product if it wishes to sell Health Club membership to all three customers? So what is the firm's producer surplus if it sells separate access to the weight room and pool room access at these prices? So start thinking about that. So if we're trying to hit all three, we've got the marginal cost of the weight machines, $20. It's $20 per month. Marginal cost of the pool, $20 per month. So if we want to capture all three customers, what does the pricing need to look like? The lowest price, yes. Okay, so then let's calculate producer surplus using the lowest price to each. So, go ahead.
Are we counting that, like, they have to buy both to have membership, or do they just have to?
Yeah, we're starting off with kind of the both thing,
Okay.
kind of a package, and then we're going to start to look at issues of separating them out or offering them differently. But for this first part, let's calculate the producer surplus for the weight machines and producer surplus for the pool, treating each one individually. So what is our producer surplus for the weight machine? How would we calculate producer surplus? First of all, what price are we going to have to go with for the weights? 25. Good. So what is producer surplus? Kind of tough when we don't have some of our crutches right staring us in the face. So go back to the bare bones principles definition of producer surplus. The difference between what two things? Price and marginal cost. Yes. So the difference between what the firm actually receives for each unit and the minimum amount they must receive for each unit that they sell. In this case, they're going to sell all three memberships, so there's three memberships being sold, and they're selling them at a price of $25 because that's the lowest one for Chris at $25. So I might draw out this little matrix here too. So we've got Abe, Betty, and Chris. We've got weights. I'm not making a very good table already. Abe, Betty, and Chris. We got weights in the pool. So what is the producer surplus for weights? $15, right? So producer surplus, the difference between the price we're selling it at, which was the lowest price here for Chris on weights, minus the $20 marginal cost gives us 5, times the 3 people gives us $15 worth of producer surplus. Yes?
Like sometimes like thinking about it graphically, we have like the triangles where we have to divide by 2. So how do we know? So there you go. Like we're just going.
Each person's paying 5, and they're paying 25, then you know that that's what the actual price is for each person. So in this case, it's all.
So graphically, this one would end up looking like this. This is where these kind of simplistic ones might not match exactly, but we're basically doing 25, 20, 1, 2, 3. And the area being represented would be this. 3 times 5 is 15. That would be the weird looking producer surplus. So remember, don't ever think about producer and consumer surplus as a triangle or as a rectangle. If you start to memorize those shapes, it'll lead you off base. Always go back to that principles definition of the difference between what the producer actually gets and the minimum amount they must get for each unit they sell. That was kind of the original definition. I can't remember exactly how they define it in this textbook, but that's the one that always kept me straight. Same thing with consumer surplus, the difference between what you're willing to pay and what you actually pay for each unit you consume. Okay, so that is it for weights, and then the producer surplus for the pool. What do we got on the pool? 50 minus our $20 marginal cost times our 3 people gives us 90 for a grand total of $105 worth of producer surplus. All right. So what price, back to question B now, what price will the firm charge for a bundle of access to both the weight room and the swimming pool if it wishes to sell the bundle to all 3 customers? How much will producer surplus for Fit Club be in this case? So if it wants to sell a bundle to each, what would be the price needed? How much?
110.
110. How'd you get that?
Because it's the lowest price of the bundle that you can charge because the customer A is willing to pay only 110 while the others are willing to pay more.
Okay, so that's the lowest of the bundle, right? So Abe has $60 worth of willingness to pay benefit from the weights, 50 from the pool. Combined together, this person would have a maximum willingness to pay of $110. Betty, on the other hand, would have 175, and Chris, Chris is 165. So now go ahead and calculate what producer surplus is offering a bundle, forcing people, bear in mind, we're changing our pricing strategy, right? Well, one thought was do we just offer weights and the pool separately, or should we now kind of force people, take it or leave it? You can have your access to the weights and pool, or nothing. And so by having this pricing structure, we have what type of producer surplus? What'd you come up with? 210? So we got 110 minus how much? 40. We got marginal cost of both now. Times our 3 people. Gives us our 70 equals $210 worth of producer surplus. A significant jump in producer surplus. So that's good. Now, if you're the profit maximizer here, you're trying to think, well, wait a second, can I do anything else with this? Which kind of leads us into part C. You can see we're leaving some money on the table. Now, here's where it gets tricky. We, in real world, businesses struggle to find out, well, how much is that person willing to pay? Am I going to lose people? Am I going to get people? That sort of thing. So, part C. Suppose the firm is considering offering its customers a choice to either purchase access to the weight room and the swimming pool separately at a price of $60 for the weight machine and $140 for the pool, or to purchase the bundle at a price of $175. Which option will each customer choose? And how much will the producer surplus for the Fit Club Inc. earn in this situation? So, what do we need to think about here? Can we look at all of them as a group, or do we really need to take each person individually? Probably each person individually. We got to kind of see what they do. They've given us the parameters already, so they didn't have to pick. So if we've got the price of the pool equal to, what is it, 60, right? Yeah. And the price of the weight machine equal to 140. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm just reading it. It seemed like the pool would be more expensive than the weight. All right, so this is what was it? 140 and 60, and the price of the bundle, the package deal, 175. So what's Abe going to do? He's in for the weights, not the pool though, right? So Abe's in for the weights. So on Abe, we've got a weight purchase, and we're going to get $60. And what's the producer surplus on Abe then, on that particular unit or that particular person coming? 40. So 60 minus 20 times 1 equals 40. One person. Betty. The bundle, right? So she's willing to pay the 175 bundle. How much we make off of Betty in terms of producer surplus? 135. So we're incurring both costs. And you can see some of the simplicity in this is not totally realistic. If we got less people using it, then the cost would maybe fall differently. But and then Chris is jumping on the pool, but not the weights at that pricing. So Chris jumps on the pool, and we get 120 off of Chris. So at the end of the day, we add them up. And what do we get here? 55, 95, 295. Okay, so some of this would need to, in the real world, you'd have to be thinking about different gyrations of who we're losing, who we're getting. You can, how would you pick up data maybe on people?
Trying to change what you already have. Change on the pricing. See this is what you're
Okay, so survey other clubs. That'd be one thing. What else? So you're saying looking at the use at your own club and maybe surveying other clubs. What else do companies tend to do sometimes with?
I mean, I've been to a couple gyms and they have like this free membership interview kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have to go through.
Okay.
And so they ask you kind of like what stuff do you like, what kind of price.
Right. And sometimes you can sneak in pretty blunt questions that the average naive consumer just says, oh yeah, I'd be willing to pay this, or whatever. They might give away, not thinking that they're needing to be maybe tactful about whether they're putting too much on the table, that they're in a negotiation process. They're just there to work out, and that's what the gym does. They have this form, and you just fill it out and put your name and your address and how much money you make, and you kind of spill your guts on your demand curve potentially, or they'll try to do that. But of course, companies need to be careful. I mean, other people are savvy to that, and they're like, screw this, I'm not filling out this form for you, or even be offended and maybe go to the next gym down the road that is a lot more friendly to people or whatever. So that's all part of the business strategy on how we collect that data. Now, what else do gyms do from your guys' experience? What's some other pricing things that gyms do? Specials.
Throw in like a trainer or something.
Okay, yeah. So bundle in a personal fitness trainer person. That'd be one thing.
In Venezuela, they kind of separate them, the customers. Like, for example, students get a price.
Okay.
People who can access the gym at whatever time they're open get another price.
They have to pay maybe a higher premium price or something for, okay, good.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of how they do it.
Yeah. That's a good one. I saw that at our gym too. There was like an extra thing
Based on time.
to
Basically.
get access to some other place with a swipe card. Then you had to pay the extra $10 to get into that. Again, no cost to the company at the margin, right, of a little swipe card thing, but it's just part of setting up a pricing strategy to try to capture some of these consumer surpluses. So in the case of the student ID, there can be mixes of direct price discrimination and indirect price discrimination. So on top of doing maybe some of these bundling items, you could further segment it into students and non-students and still offer a discount for them. So it could get real complex. Okay, any other comments or questions on this one? Didn't get from you the thing I was looking for with gym memberships. What's that other thing when you first start up? There might be a special. When you first said special, I was thinking there might be a sign-up special that does this. What else do you do with gym memberships?
Like buy this long of a membership, get this long free.
Yeah, so yeah, you have to pay upfront fees, right? Maybe that's not quite what you were saying, but so most memberships, like even the Ottawa club here, has a upfront one-time fee only, kind of a setup fee to get in. And so that's what we're going to explore next. It's called a two-part tariff, where you pay the front end and then you pay a ongoing cost. Cell phone company, same thing, right? You pay the $30 setup fee and then it's this much per minute, or it's this much per month for unlimited minutes, or it's this much if you got texting, and then we start bundling the texting and the internet and phone use.
Would that be the same with like either like mortgages on houses or like car payments where you have to pay your down payment and then you have to do that, or not, since it's like still going towards that?
The function there is a little bit different with mortgages because the price is set. So if you're buying a house for $150,000 and the lender's requiring you to put $10,000 down, that's actually coming off the price. So the main thing that they're doing there with down payment is risk mitigation, because the more you're bought into it, the less likely they're going to get that house back, that you're going to be good on your payments. Or on the flip side is if you do go bad and you only left them out to dry with $140,000, hopefully they can find a realtor and market it and maybe still sell it for $150,000, or if it's 2 years later, maybe the house is actually appreciated to $155,000 or something.
So since there's that like set fixed cost at the beginning, it's like different.
It's different in the strategy of why it's going on.
Okay.
It's going on for the management of debt in that case, not the sale of the product.
Would you say leasing? Like
Leasing
cars
would
where
be-
you have to put a
yeah.
down payment and then give it back after your term's over?
Yeah, leasing would probably be,
Two-car tariff.
yeah, not if it's a deposit type. That would again be closer to risk. So like when you rent an apartment, you put down a deposit. That's not really there as a pricing strategy, although sometimes we've done some specials like half off the deposit when the market got competitive up in Ames and student housing. There was some places that were saying, or no deposit required or whatever, and so there it was trying to lower the down amount, but the landlord's now taking on more risk. If you normally collect a $1,000 deposit, now you got a $500 deposit, and you trash the carpet and you put a hole in the wall, and you don't pay your rent. They only had that much of a buffer, so that's again kind of a risk area. All right, let's turn to the next problem. And you have been hired as an intern at Golden Eagle. This is 10.5. You have been hired as an intern at Golden Eagle Country Club golf course. You have been assigned the task of creating a pricing scheme for the golf course, which typically charges an annual membership fee and a per-use cost to its customers. Each of your customers is estimated of having the following demand curve for rounds of golf per year. If Golden Eagle can provide rounds of golf at a constant marginal cost of 50 and charges that amount per round of golf, what is the most that members would be willing to pay for the annual membership fee? So the way they've set up this problem, how much producer surplus is the business getting on the use of the course? How much? Nothing. That's right. So the way they've set this problem up, the marginal cost is 50, and we're just going to charge members that 50 per round. So it's a push. So there's no producer surplus. So they're asking, what is the most that members would be willing to pay for the annual membership fee? How do we tackle that one?
That's kind of a broad question. Isn't it?
That's kind of what?
A broad question.
Broad? There's something we can think about. It's not too broad. It's actually something we can be specific on. So let's start thinking about this problem. We got a demand equation of what? 300 minus 5p, so Q equals 300 minus 5p. And what else do we know from the problem? Marginal cost is 50. And then what else do we know from the problem?
They're being charged.
We want the price of golf to be equal to $50 per round. And this is per round. So that was the issue that we said, that the producer surplus per round is equal to Zippo, because it's 50 minus 50. Even if we have 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people, it's 0. No producer surplus.
So would you say
This is one issue, by the way, a little side comment on that I've had with Great Life, that I'm concerned about their business model at Great Life. Are you guys familiar with the Ottawa Country Club or the Great Life? I know Caden probably would be being local. So their pricing model is $30 a month for a family for unlimited golf. As long as you walk, they still charge for a cart, which isn't much. But and then they have a fitness club, the weight machine, just like our problem here in downtown Ottawa, and that's all included for $30 a month for a family. For a family, it's like dirt cheap. I mean, the round of golf is free when you go, and so it's great. I thought it was kind of a no-brainer. My wife was paying almost $30 for herself single membership to kind of a 24-hour fitness with a card, and actually this one's with a swipe card too. It's a 24-hour thing here. So we go out and do, one round of golf is $30. It's not hard to spend $10 to $15 per person at any podunk course in the state of Kansas or Iowa or anywhere else. So, but I was concerned about the traffic that it's going to get, that there'd be congestion, and it wasn't bad last year. And I talked to somebody here who works for the course, and they said membership's gone up like almost double it. It was 50% or 100%. Membership's gone up quite a bit. So we'll see how that works out. They're charging so low of a membership per month, they have to operate on volume. But operating on volume is going to cause extra maintenance on the course, and then also maintenance on the machines, like the treadmills and all this, just like what we did in this problem. That's going to go up. So costs are going to be going up. Are they going to make enough in the pricing on volume to help pay for the maintenance of the golf course, which is historically a pretty expensive venture to get into.
Has volume gone up? Obviously, their volume might have been pretty high, but is their volume constant after raising their prices, or is that not?
No, they didn't raise their prices; they lowered them.
Said they raised their prices like 50%.
No, quantity.
Oh.
Membership quantity went up. Yeah, so prices stayed the same. All right, let's get back to this problem though. So that was just a little side thing that popped into my head when I saw this. So the question is, how much can we charge the membership fee or the annual membership?
Well, if their marginal cost of their annual membership fee is zero, then set the demand curve to zero and solve.
Okay, Chelsea?
Could you find the difference between what they're willing to pay for each round of golf, what they're actually paying, and then take it times the quantity, that difference?
Okay, so talk to me either graphically or with equation, whatever you're doing in your head.
So, like, I found where marginal revenue and marginal cost equal, like, by equation. And,
So you found the marginal revenue from this demand curve? Okay. So what do you got here? This is, what's the inverse demand curve?
60 minus 150.
60 minus, so P equals 60 minus
150.
1/5. Q. Okay. So down 1/5, let's just say something like that. And marginal revenue is 2/5, twice as steep. So you did something like this, Chelsea. Marginal cost at $50 for a round of golf. Okay, and what were you doing? Okay, and what'd you find out for that? 25. Anybody else do that, or does that sound right? I mean, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I mean, is 25 right? Does that, so 50, so marginal revenue equals 60 minus 2/5. Q equals 50, because marginal cost equal marginal revenue. Solve this for Q, does that equal 25? Chelsea says it does. I just want to double check. let's see, 60, it goes 10, throw that over to the other side, multiply times 2. Yeah, I think that's, is that right? Okay, so we got that figured out. And then what would be the price? I guess as long as you're heading this route, is that what you did next?
Well,
Or?
they're charging 50 because it says they're going to charge a marginal cost per round of golf.
Okay,
But I found the price they'd be willing to pay.
okay, what's that?
I got
So you just plugged it back into the inverse demand curve, right? How much? 55. Yeah, my scale's not going to match up here because I just threw the numbers down. Okay. So, and then you're taking this somewhere to get the willingness to pay for membership, or?
I don't know for sure, but I thought maybe you would take the because they're paying 50 per round of golf, but they're willing to pay 55.
Okay.
So I took the difference times the quantity to find out maybe what they might be willing to pay for the membership.
Michael, what were you talking about where the demand equals 0?
Well,
Were you going down here?
see, where my thought process is going is if the marginal cost per round is 50 and the price per round is 50, then the marginal cost of the membership is equal to 0. And so wherever marginal revenue is equal to 0, that's where your profit maximizing quantity and price would be for the actual membership.
Okay.
I was just thinking, like, could you find where marginal cost and demand, quantity, but I haven't figured it out. But I'm just like, in theory, like, if you found the quantity where marginal cost and demand equal,
And why would you want to do that?
so you could set up like a tier system, to like price discriminate partially. I don't know.
What is this point telling us? I think you're onto something. I just want to know what that means. What does that point mean, really?
That's how many rounds of golf.
That's how many rounds of golf are going to be
But
played,
we're not
right?
talking about rounds of golf, right?
Yeah. So Chelsea brought up there's people that are willing to pay more for some rounds, some days. You know, if it's a 3 p.m. in the afternoon on a weekend on Saturday, then they're willing to pay quite a bit more than 50. But the golf course is still charging 50. So consumer surplus didn't disappear, right? There was still a willingness to pay. And so what Brenson brought up is that this point right here represents the amount of traffic this golf course is going to have, right? Because people are going to continue to play golf until the cost of the last round is equal to the benefit of the last round. Now we've got that out here a ways, but we're talking about the whole thing now, thinking back to the two-part tariff. We're going to charge them for a membership fee. At the margin, they're going to play as much golf as they want to play, but it's still going to cost them $50 each time. So how much would they be willing to pay to play that much golf? What's missing off this picture? Chelsea was hinting at it a little bit. This person for the 25th got $5 worth of something. What's that something? Consumer surplus. But there's more than that. There would be a kink in this. But we've got consumer surplus on these, right? On all of these. So
So like each round of golf would be like the first round of golf would be a high price, and as it increases,
no, but you're kind of on to something. So let's go back to what that situation is. If everybody pays the highest amount they're willing to pay for golf for each round they play, what kind of discrimination is that? Perfect. So that's perfect price discrimination. So the fact that we're not charging that way, they're still earning some surplus. But how do we get them to play those rounds of golf with this?
Like a
Yeah, so how much is, back to our question, what is the most that members would be willing to pay for an annual membership fee? The entire consumer surplus. They'd be willing to pay, that's by definition what it is, right? It's the willingness to pay for those goods. The height of the demand curve the whole way represents all of the willingness to pay. We're charging a cost per unit though, so that's what makes it not be the whole area. Otherwise, when we go to the buffet line at lunch today, and we pay our fixed lunch fee to get into the door, and then there's an unlimited amount of food, how much do we consume? We consume until the benefit of the last bite is 0, right? Because each trip up to the buffet line costs me nothing. That's not what's going on here. Each trip to the golf course costs me 50 still. So I'm still charging a per unit cost, but it's 50. And so I will continue to consume golf till the benefit of the last round played is equal to the cost of the last round played. But I'm not going to get the surplus if the club was able to charge that as a membership fee up front.
So you find the area of the consumer surplus, and then that's the that's the membership fee.
That's your membership fee.
But how do you know? What is it because every customer has the same demand curve that you know that they'd all be willing to
Yes.
pay that?
Yep, that's what the kind of strong assumption that this particular model has, is that all the consumers are identical, which they're probably not. But
Yeah, I just thought that was the demand curve. I didn't that was the demand curve for memberships in general.
oh,
Not rounds of golf, so that's what I was like.
yeah, so that'd be the demand for, so we kind of got to go back. I mean, I like drawing up the graphs to try to remember some of that logic. Definitely remember this connection of marginal benefit curve and the demand curve. So, how much is this one then? Brinson, did you figure this out? Where demand and marginal costs were equal to each other? That's at 50? All right, so then we can do our 1/2 base times height to get our consumer surplus. So 1/2 of 10, or I guess that's like my base, if I follow my base times height. 50 times 10. $250. So not a bad deal for the golf course. They're extracting all of the consumer surplus. Again, if they have perfect data here, this is a stretch, right? But
Does it become producer surplus?
yes. Yep. So now that consumer surplus is the producer surplus. So that is the kind of two-part tariff way of pricing that you'll see quite a
They're
bit.
basically paying double
What's that?
annually. They're basically paying double. I mean, like $100 per month.
No. With this one, they're paying, well, they might have it on a per month basis, $250 divided by 12, but the way they've structured this problem, it's $250 for the membership for the year, $50 each time you come out and play.
So then,
Does that help? We heard a aha moment.
so then, with maybe that, I remember the golf course be willing, or like, would they maybe have a higher price to charge for a golf if you weren't paying for the membership fee, or would you have to buy the
Right.
membership fee no matter what?
Right. So now that's getting into another pricing category where we got the that would be kind of similar, I guess, to the obsessed trader and the if you guys read the chapter, there's a really good one on the a good example on the obsessed trader versus the, what do they call it, the one-time trader, but he had a different word for it. But the what? Uninterested, yeah, the uninterested trader. So with all of these cases, that first table in the chapter that I put on the overhead last time is important on why we take these approaches. So you really, I'd like you to know for the test, I guess specifically, where you get into these different situations and why we use them. So not every shoe fits, and all of these can sometimes be combined. You might start to pick this up, but this little table where we walk through, are the consumers different or not? So in this case, we had identical consumers. That's why we took this approach. Had we had two different sets of consumers, we might still take this approach, by the way. So this is how this stuff can get really complicatedly fun if you're an econ person. So we go back to Sam's example of the students. So now suppose we have a student demand curve that looks like this, because students are poor and they might play some golf. What do we charge the students? Now I've got a student ID. I can separate the students. I'm doing market segmenting, which is kind of the traditional price discrimination. I charge students this membership fee, and maybe they have even a different marginal cost, but let's just say if that's the cost, it doesn't matter if it's a student or a non-student if we need to cover our cost of $50 per month, so they might still charge $50, but their membership fee is only $100 or whatever their area would be, because their demand is different. So then we'd be combining market segmentation with the two-part tariff concept. So all of this stuff can really be mixed within the groups. Anything where you can segment out the groups potentially opens up one of these more sophisticated types as well of indirect pricing in between, whether you use coupons or other strategies. So there's a lot of mixing and matching. Each of the problems, I think, pretty much keeps you, well, we explored a couple different ones with this one, so I like the way the problems kind of work you through. So speaking of problems, Friday, I was going to have them Wednesday, remember, but I decided, I'm sorry for those of you I kind of meant, did you do it? Kate, sorry.
I did it before break, so I
Oh,
mean.
you did it, okay. Well, I guess is everybody done? Okay, I wasn't, we didn't talk about it last time, and I wanted to get through this material. I meant to say it before we ended last time, but, so yeah, let's just have those due on Friday. If you want to get it out of your hair, Kate, I'll take it, but otherwise you can just hang on to it.
Did you have a set date for the next test?
I